The Institute for Regional Forecasting at the C.T. Bauer College of Business at the University of Houston hosted its spring symposium on May 22nd, where Bill Gilmer, director of the Institute, addressed what will drive Houston's economy now that spending for oil exploration and production has slowed.
The question for Houston has always been just how good will it be? And energy, it turns out, is still firmly in the driver's seat. We're going to get an unanticipated bonus from the upstream this year because of the cold weather. And the downstream construction may be moving faster than perhaps I'd originally anticipated. And we're going to see a significant ramp up in activity across this year. Space and medicine, they're probably in better shape than you think here in Houston. And the slowing down in the global economy, and especially in emerging markets, might be sort of the only nagging worry that I think we have in front of us. I would like to talk about diversification in Houston. We know we've talked about diversification in history in terms of these giant clusters, but I'd like to suggest another way that we could think about diversification and perhaps show that Houston really has not been greatly distorted by the great boom we have seen in industry. If we look at the last decade, about 66% of the job growth in Houston has been driven by the oil industry, about 2/3. Job growth can be driven by these external factors, this handoff on the one hand, or it can be driven by Dutch disease. And what we find is that the 15% contribution from the energy industry was because the energy industry was weak in the 90s. The 66% is almost exclusively because the energy industry was strong, and that Houston does not show any significant signs of Dutch disease. And the reason for that is that we're a very large place. Remember, the problems in Midland, it's because you run out of workers. You run out of workers and you begin cannibalizing from inside the economy. Houston is a big enough place that it can draw workers from all over the country. The elasticity of the supply of labor is very large for Houston. So we are as capable of retaining and attracting non-energy industries to Houston as we have ever been, despite the oil boom that's underway. Yes, 66% of the jobs in Houston recently, last decade, driven by oil, but that's because oil has been on a roll and the US economy way on the other end of the spectrum. So, good news, I think, really for Houston. The question, of course, when the US economy tightens up again, what happens then? But I think we have at least a bit of an understanding of the problem. It's a little different from the clustering approach, but it tells us that, in fact, we have not just turned into a big oil town. We can support other kinds of industries here in Houston and have a very healthy oil industry at the same time.